Good morning, students. I'm going to take a class on object-oriented programming with C++, and it is actually the introduction part. So, in this class, I'm going to discuss what is the basic concept of object-oriented programming and how C++ programming language is used as in object-oriented programming. So we know that C is a structured language program. Both C and C++ are high-level programming language. So the prime purpose of C++ programming was to add object-oriented to the C programming language, and which is in itself one of the most powerful programming languages. So the core of the pure object-oriented programming is to create an object in code. While we designing C++ module, we try to see the whole world in the form of objects. So what is objects? For example, a car is an object, a man is an object which has certain properties, such as, for example, if we consider a car as an object, then its properties are color, number of doors, number of specifications, etc. So it has also certain methods, means certain functions such as accelerate, brake, and so on. So there are few principal concepts that form a foundation of object-oriented programming. So first we consider some terminology we should know before going to details of object-oriented programming. First, what is object? This is the basic unit of object-oriented programming. That is, both data and functions that operate on data are bundled, combined as a unit called as objects. Next, come to the concept of class. What is class? Class, when we define a class, we define a blueprint of an object. Okay, this is actually instance. Object is nothing but instance of a class. So it does not actually define any data, but it does define what the class name means, that is what an object of a class will consist of and what operations can be performed on such an object. So that is class. Now come to another concept, abstractions. So data abstractions is also another important features of object-oriented programming. Data abstraction refers to providing only essential information to the outside world and hiding their background details. That is, to represent the needed information in program without presenting the details. For example, suppose a database system hides certain details of how data is stored and created and maintained. Similarly, C++ classes provides different methods to the outside world without giving internal details about those methods and data. So now come to another features, encapsulations. So encapsulations is placing the data and the functions that work on the data in the same place. While working with the procedural language like C, it is not always clear which functions work on which variable, but in object-oriented programming in C++ provides you framework to place the data and the relevant functions together in the same object. So encapsulation means combining both data and the behavior and functions in a single unit. Unit is known as class. So that is encapsulations. Now come to terminology another. What is inheritance? It is one of the most useful aspect of object-oriented programming, which give us facility for code reusability. As the name suggests, inheritance is the process of forming a new class from an existing class, which is from existing class is called base class and new class is known as derived class. So this is very important concept. So inheritance means we inherited some properties from the base class to derived class so that some properties we can reuse. Okay. So next, another term is polymorphism. The ability to use an operator or functions in different ways, in another word, giving different meaning or functions to the operators or functions is called polymorphism. Poly refers many. That means a single function or a single operator functioning in many ways defined upon the uses is called polymorphism. Next, another terminology which is overloading. The concept of overloading is also a branch of polymorphism. When the existing function is overloaded, then it is known as function overloading. When the existing operator is made to operate on new data type, it is also said to be operator overloading. So a class. So finally, what is class? A class is used to specify the form of an object, and it combines data, representations and methods for manipulating the data into one neat package. The data and functions within a class are members of that class. So this is the basics of C++ as well as in object-oriented programming. So now again I remind the basic terminologies. Okay. So first, so what is object? So a class provides the blueprint for objects. So basically an object is created from a class. Okay. An object is always created from a class. Now come to another important concept, data members. So in C++, when we consider a class, it consists of lots of data members. So data members are basically two types. One is member functions and another is attribute, or we can consider as data members. So for example, when we consider class members, so class members also we can. So class member function means a member functions of a class is a function that has its definitions or its prototype within the class definition like any other variables. variables. Now come to another some important concept of object-oriented programming. Class access modifier. So, but class access specifier. A class member can be defined as public, private, or protected. Okay, these are nothing but the access specifier. How you define the member of a class, either in public visibility mode or private or protected. So by default, members would be assumed as private for a class. So another concept, basic concept, constructor and destructor. So constructor, a class constructor is a special functions in a class which is called and when a new object of a class is created, and the name of constructor is same with the class name. Similarly, a destructor is also a special functions which is called when the create object is deleted. So destructor is also same name with the class but predefined with a symbol tilde in front of the destructor name. So another terminology, friend function. So you know what is friend? Friend means some free to do something with your friend, means you can share your private activities or private thought with friends. So similarly in case of C++ also, friend function concept, a friend function is permitted full access to private and protected member of a class. That means a friend function can use both private and protected member of a class. Now come to another some important concept. So in C++, class structure is used to declare two types of members. We have already discussed. This is one data members and another is member functions. Okay, data are nothing but declared of variables for holding data. Functions called member functions contains sequence of instructions that operate on that data. An object is nothing but a variable of type class. That means it is a self-contained computing entity with its own data and functions. So now come to some advantage of object-oriented programming. So why we prefer object-oriented programming like C++, Java, etc. So number one advantage is reusability. So reusability, the object-oriented programs are designed for reuse. Encapsulations, polymorphism, and inheritance facilitates ease of reuse. Number two advantage, maintainability. Each class is self-contained with data and functions and the functions are grouped together. Therefore, object-oriented programs are easily maintainable. Number 3, data integrity. So data integrity, avoiding global variables and go-to statements, binding the data within the class and providing restricted access ensures data integrity. Next, modularity. So modularity in object-oriented programming is obtained by the division of programs into well-defined and closely knit classes. Next advantage is extensibility. So inheritance mechanism facilitates extending the features of classes easily for reuse. So these are some advantages of object-oriented programming. Above all, some another already we have discussed. These are also known as characteristics of object-oriented programming. So encapsulations, inheritance, polymorphism, which is same meaning as it is also known as features of object-oriented programming. So now I think we clear the basic concept of object-oriented programming. But when we do some program using class and objects, then it will be very clear to you. So today I will stop here, and next class we go details of object-oriented programming. Okay, thank you.